They're finally here. After 13 months, I finally got them. So let me introduce you to the new All About the Bait ESKY Shrimp. Bam! So the backstory on these ESKY rods down in Key West were basically, these have been their go-to shrimp bait for all the local guides and local fishermen down here in the lower Keys. They're kind of that go-to bait that's been used for generations. But the problem came into play is about 2 years ago, they lost their supplier of these. And then for a year and a half after that, he's been looking for a new supplier of these and just hadn't found one. And finally, after a year and a half, he found somebody that could produce these. So he got a batch made. I got a hold of them because he was showing them to me and said, finally got these, look at them. These are what everybody buys. I sell a ton of these, you check them out. So I said, okay. So I got a few bags and then I sent them out to my product testers groups, my Patreon supporters, as my November giveaway, November 2019. So that's when I first introduced it to my store. But then our plan was to do a big bulk order, so he would have his supply and then I would have my supply I could sell on the website. Well, we placed that order, and then month after month the guy kept putting us off. Oh, I'm working on it, working on it, working on it. And about 6 months into that, he just stopped answering his calls and couldn't get a hold of him. It was like, oh my gosh, they had given him a big deposit and thinking, oh, he just bailed. And then just about 6 months ago, they finally got a hold of the guy, and he said, oh, I ended up just closing down the shop. It's done. I'm not doing them anymore. I got rid of all my gear. It's over. So I'm like, oh my gosh. But fortunately, I've got my team. So I went through and got us set up. We created a new mold. We did some changes. We cleaned up the basic design. And then for your eagle-eyed viewers, if you take a look at it, you'll see a little Easter egg hidden on here, which is pretty cool. And got that mold built, and bam, we're back in business again. So I'm selling these. I've got 5 different colors to start. This one is the original here. It's kind of like, they called it a new penny. It's got a little greenish sparkles in there, but that's the original. That is the only one that they sold in the shop there. That's the only one that was mandatory to have. But I also picked up a good classic color, the gold flake there. This one I wanted particular because to catch juvenile tarpon nighttime at the bridges, the glow, just plain glow. And I'll catch tarpon 12 months out of the year with that one. The natural colors for the shrimp that we have down in the Keys. So if you go to the tackle shop, or you get them, if you see them just on the grass or on the bottom, they're either a brown or a gray. So I've got the brown original one, and then I wanted a gray to match that gray option. So that's that one there. And then I also did this one, which is the cranberry. Beautiful colors there. Now for me in particular, the reason why it sold me on it, and why I was willing to put 6 months of a lot of time and effort and about $1,000 for a mold, for this shrimp mold, was because one of my trips to the backcountry chasing permit and bonefish generally involves going in the evening time, catching at low tide. Then that's when they tend to come out and I get more tailing action, and I target them right there. But the risk though is if I hit it at real low tide or a negative tide, I get stuck back in the backcountry because it gets too skinny, so I can't get back to Key West. So I get stuck back there, and I remember the exact time when it happened, and that's basically what happened. I got stuck out there for about 2 hours. So the sun totally set, pitch black dark, just the stars out, had my headlight, and I'm just kind of just sitting in a puddle, drifting around, and I look, and then I turn the light on, and I see all these red eyes glowing in the water. And that's what happens with the shrimp. Their eyes glow red when you shine a light on them. And they were everywhere. And then I was drifting through and I was kind of counting, and it's basically, I was about 1 shrimp every square foot. There was a shrimp or more. There were just so many of them, and I never realized that there were that many shrimp back there. And no wonder why we have such a good bonefish permit species back there, is there's so much shrimp. And with the shrimp that I saw were, bam, exactly like that, about 2 to 3 inches. This is 3 inches here. Exactly 2 to 3 inches. That's what all of them were. And they would just basically sit on the bottom, and they look just like that when I've drifted over them. They had that same profile with that tail fanned out, and they're stuck on the bottom, either holding onto the gravel or stucking on a weed blade, and they're just sitting there. And it was exactly that. And I had that in my mind. And when I saw these baits and the reasons why it was so popular, I knew that was it. It's just, they're just packed so much back there with bait of exactly this profile. And that's why they're so important to all the local guides and the local flats fishermen and shore fishermen for that specific bait. And hence, I put the effort in to get them, got them, super happy. The other kind of background on why these became so difficult, it's no different than technology. It's always ever changing. It's always supposedly getting better, newer, faster, lighter, whatever. It's the same thing with fishing, okay? In order to not necessarily catch more fish, but to catch more fishermen, the marketers have to come up with new designs every year. That's why iCast exists. So you have a bait that you can no way catch any fish anymore unless you have this specific bait, okay? And they get newer designs. They're 3-dimensional, they're holographic, they got scent. You can control them by your iPad, they light up, and blah, blah, blah. All this new technology, but primarily it's to catch more fishermen. Well, what happens then is the manufacturers have to produce what these retailers want to sell, so they start making those things. And it becomes harder and harder to find these classic style baits. So like this shrimp, like my basic paddle tails, whenever you walked into a tackle store and just saw a plain Jane paddle tail, silver flake, gold flake, an old classic, a bucktail jig like I sell, those things are just so difficult to find these days, because although they're been catching fishes for generations, okay, it's just not in the best mindset for these big companies to market and promote and be able to sell as the new it thing. So these things get squeezed out. So that was the other reason why I knew if I got into these, I would be able to kind of cash in on that part of it, is something that can't be got anymore, but yet there's this major demand for it. And that's what these fishermen down here were wanting. So it worked out great. I've got those 5 colors. The other reasons why is those new baits I'm talking about is you get a 2-pack for $10 to $15 for 2. Okay, and in the Keys here, and depending on where you're at, we have a lot of toothy critters, and we got a lot of toe biters that just nip and just bite things to pieces, and these type of little soft plastics just get torn up. So whereas you get 2 for 15, 2 for 10, you get 50 of these shrimps for $15. 50 of them. I mean, you don't get them in this cool hard pack, vacuum sealed. You get a Ziploc baggie and you get 50 of them for $15. And that's what they want, because they just get used through so much, because everything eats a shrimp, and a lot of stuff have teeth and they'll just gobble these things up. Or if you get a hard running fighting fish, they get torn up as well. So bulk like that, just quick and easy, that's kind of why they're in such high demand as well. So they're available, www.allaboutthebait.com. Check them out. I am also pairing them up, okay? So I'm doing a combo kit of a jig head with the shrimp tails. So this one is the 1/8 ounce 3/0 jig head, okay? I do have 1/8 ounce in the 4/0 2X strong, but unless you're fishing for like teenage to adult sized tarpon that are eating shrimp, which these will be what they're eating, you won't need the big 4/0 2X strong hooks. So the 3/0 just fits perfectly. It just, dimensions are perfect for the shrimp. So in the 1/8 ounce or the 1/4 ounce, same thing, 3/0 in the fish head jig head, works perfect. These two, the 1/8 ounce is for up on top. It's a slow drift down. So if you're doing skinny water, tarpon, up feeders, that's perfect. if you're bottom bouncing, the 1/4 ounce or deeper water as well. Then I also have it in the 1/4 ounce in the Cobra Jig Head. This is great for bouncing along the bottom as well. This has the 2-aught 2x strong, so snook, big redfish, the big tarpon. This will work well if you want just a smaller jig head to go with it. I just finished testing this and getting the right hook and setup. This is the All About the Bait rigging kit. So it's the 2x strong jig hook, must add, with the corkscrew attachment to it. So you can use the corkscrew, run the jig there, and then this setup here, just the hook and the corkscrew, is 1 gram, where the 1/8 ounce is basically 4 grams. So it's 1/4 the weight. So what this one is going to be is, because it can be rigged weedless as well, and it's super light, is for flicking under the mangroves and just keeping it right on the top of the water for those up feeding fish. So just like a shrimp you would see is in the current drifting along on top, kicking around, that's what this one will do. And these weighted jig heads will get that to the bottom and working it that way. So those are available as a 5-pack of jig heads with a 25-pack of the shrimp tails there. So you can check those out as well. I tested them out already. So if you saw my last video, I went for the speckled trout. I caught 5 to 6 on each color just to make sure. And they all worked great on the speckled trout. That's exactly what I wanted them for the winter time, was particularly for the speckled trout. I've got the shirt for it, but they work great for that. And then really the original reason was for bonefish permit on the flats during the spring, summertime, and using the natural colors to target those. So one of these 3 colors here. And then you can use depending on the depth, if it's like you're doing tailing bonefish or permit in 1 foot or less, I'd go with the 1/8 ounce. If it's a little bit deeper, 2 foot plus, then I'd go with the 1/4, because you want that bait to kind of sink fairly quickly and working along the bottom. So those are available. Check them out. Proven already. But anyways, check them out. www.allaboutthebait.com. See you on the water. Oh, check out the warehouse number 2. It's in progress now. So my artificial baits are coming out here. Plus all my new stuff. So no more living room. Bummer. All right. Bye.